We all know that the right habits and mindsets can be transformational in how we live our lives. But among the sea of advice online, it can be challenging to know who to trust with these important life decisions. At The Standard, we answer those questions and introduce you to some of the most successful people in the world in their fields and the habits and the mindsets they've used to achieve their success. To learn more about our social platform, head on over to www.thestandardapp.com. And now, your host, myself, Chris Pallatroni. Welcome to another episode of The Standard. I am your host, Chris Pallatroni, and today's guest is Alyssa Bauman. And God, what a special guest. I've known Alyssa for about a year and a half now. I first reached out to her as we were getting the Standard platform underway, and she was so kind and generous to participate and share some of her habits on the platform. And this was an exciting episode because it was the first time I got to really dig into sort of what makes her tick and, how she thinks about all of this. She is a nutritionist. She is a health coach. I should say she's a holistic nutritionist. And we talk a little bit about what that means. We talk a lot about habits and living a healthy lifestyle. She shares her habit that she's been doing for the last decade, every single day for the last decade. And if you follow her on Instagram, you probably know what that is. Needless to say, though, she gives us a lot of insight as to why it works for her and the benefits that she gets from it. We talk about her best mindset, which was a new one I hadn't heard before, made a lot of sense, and talk a lot about sort of her relationship to coaching and how she helps clients, which I thought was really interesting. So really fun episode. I think you're going to learn a lot. This was the first certified nutritionist we've had on this program. And obviously nutrition is such a fundamental part to our wellness for such a variety of reasons, which she covers. You're going to want to listen to this. And so without further ado, this is Alyssa Bauman. Hey, we figured it out. So here we are.
We're here. We figured it out. Yeah, I'm on my phone now, which is
you look great though. The quality looks great. You're lipstick matches the shirt, so I love it.
Lipstick,
Well, I am super excited. I know we've talked on and off over the last year and a half, but I've clearly haven't had the opportunity to just really dig into your life here and just see what makes you tick. So this is going to be fun. I will say, I know a fair amount about your background. I follow you, I've researched you, and I'll do an intro after this episode coming into it. But what might be helpful to start is for all the people that don't know your background, maybe you can just give a quick overview of, your life, if you will.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can definitely do that.
Yeah. So maybe you just start with just how you sort of got into this wellness journey. I know you weren't always, a nutritionist or holistic nutritionist. So maybe just give us a little bit of a background.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you for having me. First of all, I feel honored, very grateful for every opportunity to spread the message of wellness, because I think it's so incredibly, essentially important to however you want to define success. Whether you're, an entrepreneur, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you're just hanging out, I think at every level, health is probably the most important thing. And I didn't always know this because I wasn't always into health. I started, I have had many careers in my years. Right out of college, I was a journalist living in New York City. And wellness was the last thing that I even thought about. I was out every single night. I was eating out every single night. I didn't even, yes, great restaurants, but eating a lot of food and drinking a lot, going to lots of shows. So, it was the keys to the city for a young, starting out young lady. And then it really wasn't until my nephew, who was really young, wasn't doing great in school. And it was right when Whole Foods was just opening. It was before there was, the word wellness didn't even exist. People were still going to teeny little nutrition stores and health, they were called health food stores. And, people were eating bologna and cheese sandwiches and Velveeta cheese and all these things. So it wasn't really until my nephew started having problems in school, and he was like a kindergartner, that my sister was like, well, I don't really know what to do. And at that point in my life, I was single. I didn't have children. I had nothing but, time aside from my career. And I really dug into nutrition. And I did have a background in nutrition. I went to Boston University, so I minored in nutrition, but I got a degree in international relations and journalism. So nutrition was just something like out there because I always thought nutrition and its effects on the body were really interesting and cool, but not in a way that I wanted to spend my career on it. So when this happened with my nephew, I really just started researching, ways to figure out how to get his attention back and how to get him focused on things that he should be focused on. And I really just cleaned out his fridge. I cleaned out my sister's fridge. She was a working mom. She was, feeding him, and she didn't know any different, really. She was feeding him what everybody was eating, fluorescent colored yogurts and, waffles that were full of chemicals and lots of gluten and all sugar. And that's what he was starting his day out. And no one to blame. We just didn't know any better. And I really, really focused about 6 months, and I fed him whole foods. I baked for him. I cooked for them. And I didn't have a background in cooking or anything. I just kind of figured it out along the way. And, a year into this whole project, he had an unbelievable, remarkable turnaround, and it was fascinating. And we were all like, "Wow!" And the school headmistress was like, "What doctor have you seen? Has he been to? What medication is he on?" And it wasn't that. We really just changed his food intake and his diet, and the turnaround was remarkable. And that pushed me into thinking about how I would like to change my own career. I was a very established writer. I wrote for the New York Times. I wrote for Time Out New York. I wrote for Wear magazine. And I was telling people where to go and what to do in the city. And while it was fun and exciting and lively, it wasn't fulfilling. Yeah. So at that point in my career, I was like, okay, well, let me start writing for different magazines, like Fitness Magazine, like Shape Magazine, like Nutrition Magazine. And while I was getting articles published, I really did need some initials behind my name to have that expertise. So when I wasn't getting the masthead, when I wasn't getting the things that I really wanted, I realized I had to go back to school and learn more about nutrition and get a full degree in nutrition. And that's really was a catalyst in my life because I got engaged at the time, and my husband is Canadian, and he got offered a position back in Vancouver where he's from. And I was, really a diehard New Yorker through and through. And he's like, "Well, do you want to try this out?" And I said, "You know what? Why not? If I'm going to make a huge change, I will make a huge change. I won't, go to a small little city like Toronto. I will do something completely different." And Vancouver is where he was at, and it's where I've been for 22 years. And when I got here, I was back in school, and I did some other things in the mix. I did some of my journalist work here in Vancouver just to kind of make the money. But I was still in school, and I started my wellness consulting firm about 16 years ago. And in between, I've had 3 children, and I'm a I'm a local media contributor on CTV Morning Live and Beat Breakfast Television here in Vancouver. And I'm on national radio once a month. So yeah, it's been a really big change, and it's been really an overall, not just career change, but an absolute lifestyle change between moving to a very health conscious city and putting my concentration in, what goes into my body and what goes into my clients' bodies and my family's bodies. The shift has been remarkable, and it's been, it really has rippled into every aspect of my life.
Oh my God. I have so many, was doing so much research before this too. And there's so many questions. I think you're the first true nutritionist that we've had on, and clearly food is so, man, it's top of mind for so many people. And let me try to provide a little bit of structure. So right now you're a health coach, you're a holistic nutritionist. For those that don't know, what does holistic nutritionist mean? What is that actually for you?
So instead of me just looking at your diet and saying, okay, eat this, don't eat this, you should have this many calories, this much protein, this is what you need to do, just using food, I kind of look at a whole holistic approach, meaning all avenues in your life. So what is stressing you out? What are the foods that are working for you? How do you feel after you're eating these foods? What kind of movement are you getting? How purposeful do you feel in your career? So we do start with food. And then from food, we kind of figure out what is going on with the foods that you're eating. How is it making you feel? What are the benefits you're receiving? Are you getting the energy that you needed? Are you exhausted after you eat? fatigued after you eat? How do you feel after you come home from work? Are you, numbing out with a glass of wine and putting the TV on? Are you moving your body? Are you taking walks? Are you in nature? So it's like, I really do. I look at all pillars in the wellness scheme and not just food and not just a do eat this and don't eat this and don't eat after 6, but do eat this. So it's more of a checking the boxes in your total wellness.
Yeah, and I know you talk a lot about habits, and clearly habits are so fundamental, especially when it comes to nutrition. But
Oh
but I,
yeah.
but I guess the question I have is
Yeah.
like, why focus on? Why not just tell people like, eat clean, pull it from a tree, pick it from the ground, don't eat after 7, why not just focus on like, I don't want to call them the basics, but why focus on like the whole person and like their habits and this more holistic
Hmm.
approach versus just, I don't want to say like basic
Well,
nutritionist, but
I that's a great question, but I do feel like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if we're just going to talk about food, then yeah, you can be eating all the kale in the world. But if you're not, addressing your problems, if you're not addressing why you're not sleeping, if you're not addressing why you have no energy to go outside, your overall wellness isn't going to be at
yeah,
that place that you're able to fuel your passions and fuel your life and do the things that you love, right? So, I can say eat all the greens in the world and eat all the clean proteins that you want. But if you have other problems in your life that are trickling in, you're so stressed out and you're not knowing how to deal with your stress, you're not knowing where to carry your emotions, then, the clean eating is only going to help this
yeah,
much, right? Because it's part of a very big puzzle. So if we can kind of use that as one piece and then we can kind of fit in all the other pieces to your total wellness, then you will have a completely different wellness experience, right? And I think it's really easy for people to take one habit and really work it until it becomes who you are. And that's kind of the platform of what I suggest to all of my clients is like, let's hone in on one really big habit and let's make that what you're going to focus on. After we focus, let's say for me, like a green smoothie, a daily green smoothie, then let's add in the movement component.
yeah,
And then once that's happened, then let's add in, your stillness component. And then let's add in, okay, let's try to get to bed 10 minutes earlier. Let's do that. If you told me, Chris, 25 years ago that I would be eating super clean, going to bed by 10 o'clock, waking up at 5 o'clock, I mean, I would say there's no way. I was going out every night. I was drinking a lot. I was staying up really late, sleep. I lived on 3 hours of sleep and then I did it again. And I really find it fascinating how we as people, as we get older, as we become more wise, just we evolve into the person that we're supposed to be.
yeah.
And I think using wellness is a catalyst to being able to do the things that you love and fueling your passions and living your best life. Because I think that's the only thing, it's everything that everybody wants is to feel connected to each other and to live their fullest, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's, I can see for most people that aren't drinking the Kool-Aid of wellness, like it can be overwhelming because as you're pointing out here, we're not just talking about what to eat, which I mean, let's be honest, we could dissect this for multiple episodes and like how to shop and how to
Mm-hmm.
prepare food. I mean, there's so much that goes behind it. But to your point, even if you were really good at nutrition, let's be honest, a lot of people eat their feelings. You know what I mean? Like they're stressed out at work. I mean, we look at food for comfort. I had a phenomenal,
Right.
the episode's coming out tomorrow, Brad Roa. And I mean, he's a bodybuilder. I mean, this guy's physique is just on point, but he acknowledges how hard it has been for him to not like, he takes comfort in food and he struggles with it as much
Mm-hmm.
as you would look at him and you'd be like, well, clearly it doesn't show. But he struggled his whole life with like not eating his feelings because he takes comfort in that. And so I do think there's a lot of validity and there's a lot you have to pay attention to. Wellness is like an ecosystem, right? Like if you don't sleep well, it affects your nutrition. If you don't eat well, it affects your exercise. If you don't exercise, it affects your mood. Like it can be very
It is.
overwhelming.
It's cyclical. If one thing is off, you have to work really, really hard to keep that momentum going. I mean, if your sleep is off, you have no energy to exercise. If you have no energy to exercise, you have no energy to prepare great food. You have no energy to shop. So it is cyclical. So if you can get the basics down, and I would say it's sleep, it's exercise, it's some type of connecting to your inner world before connecting to the
Yeah.
outer world. and then nutritious. Not in any particular order, but I do think sleep and nutrition, if you have those two in check, the other two kind of just begin to move each
Yeah.
other because, and I say this all the time, because once you start eating well, you start feeling it. You start seeing the results. You start feeling the results. So you want to continue to eat well and you want to continue to do the things that make you feel good. So I always ask my clients, I'm like, well, how bad do you want to feel good? Like that is the foundation of this. Like, how bad do you want to feel good? Because if you say I want to feel good so bad, then you're going to do everything that you can to connect to your why. Why do you want to feel good? And then the hows, how do I eat clean? How do I make a green juice every day? How do I get exercising? All of those hows become that much easier
Yeah.
because you're so connected to feeling good and you're so connected to that why. Why do you want to feel good? So it's very cyclical.
Yeah. You mentioned something a while back, and I think it's so important for people that, I don't know, maybe feel a little overwhelmed with like, yeah, that's great, Alyssa, but like, she's Louise, like, there's so many areas that I should focus on. Like, what do I focus on? And I recognize, like, for each
Mm-hmm.
individual person, it's not like everybody starts right here. You are sort of mentioning some sort of non-negotiables of like, hey, sleep's super critical. I was talking with a buddy this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, look, dude, like everything I've learned, it's, exercise, sleep, and nutrition are like some of the big three blocks. And clearly there's other stuff that fits into there, but like, you got to focus on some of those because they have such ripple effects through everything else. But the thing that you said a few minutes ago that everybody should take to heart is you have to start somewhere and you have to start small. You have to pick something,
Mm-hmm. One
one
thing.
thing.
Pick one thing. I say this all the time. One thing, whether that's more
Yeah.
water, more hydration. What if that's just 10
Yeah.
minutes of getting into bed a little bit earlier? Just 10 minutes. That's not, these are little steps. Like these are little steps. These are like have your water by your office, by your bed, wherever there is. I have water jars all over the place. And this is what I teach people. I mean, I teach people how to incorporate these small little changes in your life. So all of a sudden, it just becomes easier, right? Like something so simple as laying out your workout clothes the night before you go to bed. When you wake up in the morning, you might be exhausted. I don't feel like doing it, but your clothes are right there. You don't have to make the decision. All you have to do is get dressed. And then all you have to do is press play,
Yeah.
whatever YouTube video you're doing. And it just starts to become cyclical. And the more you train your brain to do it, the more you want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same with eating grocery shopping or ordering your food, or it's the exact same with what you eat on a daily basis.
Yeah, there are so many tiny little hacks. I still lay out like my shoes and my shirt I'm going to wear in the morning when I wake up early. I mean, anything I can do the night before while I'm not like a zombie, that will make my morning
Mm-hmm.
that much easier.
I know, because you wake up really early too,
I
right? You're
do.
like a 4 a.m. club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3:30 sometimes as well, and it's like I don't want to
Wow.
do any, like, I mean, there's stuff I want to do, but it's like I don't want to have to rummage for where's the socks I'm going to wear and where's the sweatshirt I want and
Right.
God, where's my laptop and oh my God, I need the charger. Like those things can derail a morning.
100%, especially at 3:30 in the
Yeah.
morning. So you basically start, and this is what I, tell my clients, you have to think about your wellness for tomorrow, today. So you already, like, your nighttime routine is about your morning routine.
Yeah.
So for you to have a successful morning routine, you have to have your plan
Exactly.
in place and activated at night. Else, you're looking for your sock. If you're looking for your sock, you're behind time, etc.
Yeah.
So it's intentional, and that's what I say this to my clients. It's like, how intentional can you be with the things that are most important in your life, with your sleep, with your nutrition? What are you eating, right? Where your stillness is where it fits in, and where your outdoor movement comes in. Like, these are non-negotiables.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about you. So, all this stuff. Like clearly you're an expert and not just nutrition, but as you've sort of pointed out, you've had to really learn habits, like routines and
Oh
mindsets.
yeah.
And I mean, there's just like an endless rabbit hole we could go down. But for yourself at this stage of your life, you've got 3 kids, you've got a husband, you've got a vibrant career, you're clearly trying to take good care of yourself, your own sanity. Like, what is the most fundamental habit for you right now?
The most fundamental habit for me right now, I have a couple. I mean, having a daily green smoothie really sets me up makes myself a priority. It's not just what the nutrition that's going into me. It's not about the fiber and the protein. It is all of that, but it's the actual self-care of doing it and getting my hands in there and making it for myself, making it for my family, and having that as the foundation of our nutrition for the day. It's like an insurance policy. So no matter what happens in the day or what my kids eat or what I eat afterwards, I know that I have gotten, 7 fruits and vegetables into my day. I know I've gotten all my fiber. I know I've gotten all my vitamins, and I'm set up. And because I know that, it is a ripple effect. So I'm getting the energy that I need. So I have the energy from that to go work out. I have the energy of that to do the things that I want to do. And I've made it really easy. I mean, I've simplified it for myself. So once you get into the routine of doing it, it just becomes who you are. And that is kind of my whole MO, and what I try to teach my clients is that once you start doing it and you start feeling the effects, you want to continue to do it. So if I don't have it one day, I actually miss it. I notice it in my energy. I notice it in all aspects of my life that I didn't have my greens today. So I make a huge Vitamix container of it, and enough to go around for 2 of the kids that drink it, and my husband drinks it. And the rest I put in glass containers like this, and I freeze it.
Really?
And then the next morning I take it out and I thaw it. So I really only make it 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay.
And I just freeze it and I have it fresh because I like it fresh. It can stay in the refrigerator, my green smoothie, for up to 2 or 3 days, but I like it fresh, and I drink more of it when it's fresh. And so when that I have, it's ready to go. And I get my kids off to school. I work out in the morning, and I have that in the car when I'm done. If I'm going for a run that day, I live in Vancouver, so I go into the rainforest and I run almost every day. That is in the car waiting for me when I get finished with my run. So when I'm done running and I'm finished stretching, that is waiting for me in my car. So I'll drink that on the way home, and then that's kind of how my morning starts. And because I'm able to do that, and I recognize that I've set up my day where I have the time to do that, I'm ready for the day. So it's about, again, identifying what's important to you and creating that habit and really getting clear on the how, the why, and it makes the how that much easier.
There is so much you packed in that concise answer. I just for people listening are just like, wow. Like, I mean, first of all, like you're starting with clarity, which clearly with any sort of habit, like you got to know where you're going to be able to design the life you want. So you've definitely locked that in. But I mean, we're talking about batching recipes here, which is so critical, right? For like any mom out there, let's be honest, who wants to cook dinner 7 days a week if you can like do some leftover type stuff. So you've already got that.
And honestly, everybody's always like, so what is it? What does your meal plan look like? You know what? When you have, and this is something completely different, but like when I have a fridge that's full of stuff, lucky enough that I can do that, I'll grocery shop once, maybe twice a week. But when you have the healthy stuff on hand, I don't even really meal prep that much. I'll just open the refrigerator and I see what I have. I'm like, okay, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But because my fridge is filled with, and I'm, you get used to it and you can be creative. And yeah, I follow recipes sometimes, but most of the time I'm just like you guys, just like everybody at 6 o'clock. I'm like, okay, it's dinner time. I know because Sunday night I filled my fridge or I had it delivered, that there's something in there that I can make. And like, so it's 12:44 right now. I know what I have in my fridge. We're going to have tofu lettuce wraps or turkey lettuce wraps tonight, just because I know it's sitting in my fridge. So it's not like I've meal planned, but I do have some type of idea of what's going to be for dinner or what we're going to eat tonight.
Yeah,
and when you have that idea, it alleviates the stress.
And I don't know if your fridge is always as well organized, but I remember you doing a post where you gave us the inside peek of it. And it was definitely a pretty sort of Whole Foods type fridge, which, I mean, let's be honest.
It's not always like that.
I totally get it. There's no way.
I cleaned it out. It was nice. It's not always like that.
You cleaned it for
I actually have 2 fridges.
Oh, okay.
I have one healthy fridge, and then I have one fridge where is full of like, condiments and things that I don't think are so great, but I don't like to look at it. So I have a healthy fridge and the kids' fridge.
Totally. Well, I can only imagine like the psychological effect of just looking at stuff that is healthy too. Like, I mean, let's be honest, like there's so much that goes into like the preparation, and you're saying like, look, I know why I'm doing it. I'm very thoughtful and putting the right stuff in the house, which I think is so critical. Like, hey, like if you want better eating habits, I'm just going to tell you right now, don't go shopping hungry and don't buy crap. Like, cause we're so lazy. Exactly. The odds of you leaving your house to go get Ben and Jerry's ice cream or a Twinkie is it's not impossible, but it's a hell of a lot less likely you're going to find yourself eating scoops of organic peanut butter more than anything. But you're not going to
Oh yeah, I go
leave.
through a lot of
But
it.
you're not going to leave your house to go buy crap. So there's a lot to be said there.
No.
But let's rewind a little bit. So you've locked in this recipe. You want this fresh stuff in your house. So is it as simple as like, you know exactly what's going in this green smoothie? You make sure that you have it on hand.
I know exactly what's going in. It's my green go-go juice for anyone who's looking for it. I know exactly what it is, and I always have I always have those ingredients on hand. I buy a ton of organic ginger, which is actually more cost effective than regular ginger. I always have lemons in my house because I have put lemon in my
Yep.
water everywhere. We go through cucumbers in this house very fast. There's always cucumbers and greens. I mean, that's my other, if you want to talk nutrition, I always tell my clients to have greens at every meal. So I either have kale on hand or I have spinach on hand. I always have celery because that's a great, easy, cheap vegetable to have. And I always have frozen fruit. Like I like pineapple in my smoothie. So, and for me, I have to have cilantro. So I buy loads of cilantro. So these are the things that are always in my house. And if I don't have them, then I know it's time for a shop.
Is this the same? Are you drinking the same smoothie like all the time? Is it the same one just on repeat?
Same one.
So how?
It's
So, I
on
mean, you've
repeat.
had
Yeah,
this
it's the
what
same one.
same smoothie every day for
Oh,
10 years?
this
Like,
this green smoothie I've had for at least 10 years. At least 10 years. And if I want my kids to drink it, I put more pineapple in it. It's ginger, lemon, spinach, or kale, or both, cucumber, celery, cilantro, which I love the taste of cilantro and I love the benefits it has on your body, and some kind of fruit, whether that's a green apple, frozen mango, frozen pineapple. That's it. It's 8 ingredients.
Yeah.
I could put frozen zucchini in it if I'm in the mood for it, but the more green, the better. And yeah, it's on repeat. That is an absolute, that is the foundation of my business, is this recipe and getting people to drink this green juice. Yeah, you can get a green powder from Whole Foods or whatever, but you can do that, but it's not the same as, again, connecting to your food and actually making it. It literally, if you have the ingredients on hand, it takes 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not as time consuming. That is such a myth that is out there that's circulating, how time consuming it is to be healthy. It's not time consuming.
Yeah.
It's put your phone down for 5 minutes, stop scrolling, and think about what's important. And you can just order it all online. I mean, if you're grocery shopping online, if you live somewhere that has delivery, and it arrives at your doorstep. So it's not time consuming to eat healthy.
Yeah. I mean,
I love that. I love that excuse that everybody
we both know.
they don't have time to eat healthy.
We both know.
We know, no.
Just excuses.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But there's two things you pointed out that I think are really important for people to listen to here. One is like, yes, some people are like, well, I mean, geez Louise, like, where's the variety? You've got the same drink for, 365 days a year. You've had the same smoothie for 4,000 days in a row. And look, like, I will say this, like, when you get really good at mastering some component of your wellness, in this case, obviously a green drink, the amount of thought that you have to put into this is damn near zero. Like, it is just part of who you are. It is automatic. I do the same thing when I go running, which is a very different habit. But my wife's like, why do you run the same route all the time? I'm like, I don't have to think about it. Like, sure, I'm out there physically doing it, but there's no thought. I can literally like do something mentally that is completely independent of the physical activity because I've run this route. I could probably run the route blindfolded at this point for 9 miles because I run the same one all the time. And I do it because I don't want to put the thought into it. I don't want to have to think about, well, where am I going today? And then I have to be very mindful of every turn I take of like, well, how do I get back to my house? Like, this is just like, and this is the beauty of compounding habits is for you, where to get this stuff, where to put it in your house, exactly what you need to put into this, exactly how much it's going to make, exactly when you need to make it, the effect it's going to have on your body, when like, there's so much to be said about that's how you build a really sustainable life is you have to put some of this stuff on automatic.
You have to put some of it on automatic because if you don't, it's hard to keep up with everything. So if you put, I'm just asking for 3 things. Put 3 things on auto.
Yeah.
Everybody, if people put 3 things on auto, then they would feel it. They would feel the difference and they would see massive shifts, not only in their body and their mind, but also with the relationships that they keep in their life and how intentional they are. So yeah, I mean, you can play around with the recipe of this green smoothie, but for me, it's like I love it. It
Yeah.
tastes good. I like how it makes my skin look. I like how it gives me so much energy. I know that I'm getting all the nutrients I need. I know that I have this in my body. I know that, I'm preventing like inflammation and other diseases. And like, why wouldn't you? Right? Like, why? Yeah, okay. I'll put something else in it. But like, if I know a formula that works for me, why would I play around with it? For variety? Okay, well, I can get variety out lots of different other
Yeah.
places, right? So it's depending on it depends on, I guess, what results you're looking for. So I guess that's very individual to that person. Like, what exactly is that person looking for, right? For me, a green smoothie, it's all in there. I get every result I want. I feel sparkly. I feel energized. I'm, vibrating on a different plane, and I like to feel that way. So, and I when I don't do it, I feel it. Like like if I'm traveling and whatnot, the first thing I do when I get to a location is try to find a smoothie bar. Yeah, it's not the same, but at least I'm getting it. But like if I'm traveling for the day and I don't have my green smoothie, I feel it. But I usually like take one of these glasses to the airport, chug it, and just leave the glass so I know I get it.
Yeah.
I do everything I can to make sure I get my green smoothie
I
in.
could see you starting to pack a blender with you as you start to travel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm curious though with this, and although this is a focus on you, I have to imagine like there is this ripple effect through your family. You said you make it for your husband, you make it for two of your three
Hmm.
children.
Hmm.
Is that because like did you force that on them? Like, do they just like it? Because obviously, like the benefits that you're getting, although they may change a little bit of the benefits they're getting a lot of the same stuff, at least from a nutritional
Hmm.
perspective. Did that just
Oh, yeah.
organically happen, or was that like you forcing it on them, or like, why do they drink?
Well, I definitely don't, force anything, on my husband nor my children. I can gently suggest and I can lead by example. And I think for any parent listening, the only thing that you can do is lead by example. So when my girls see me making this smoothie every single day, just by natural curiosity, they're going to say, "Can I have some of that, Mom? Oh, what are you making? Oh, can you not put so much ginger in it this time because that hurts my tummy?" Or like, can you make it sweeter?" So I listen to them and I do that. My husband, I just put it in front of his desk because he still works at home from COVID, and he pretty much drinks and eats anything I put in front of him. So he gets the benefits of that. But I just think be a leader,
Yeah.
lead by example, and just natural curiosity will take over, right? The fact that I'm not tired at 4 o'clock, the fact that I have energy to keep up with them. I mean, they're teenagers now, but like the fact that I'm not exhausted at night and I have the vitality to hang out with them and goof around with them and have fun with them, I think just in general is really, really what I put into my body and how I take care of myself.
Yeah.
And I think that it has a ripple effect on not just my family, but my clients, my extended family. And, they look to me as the leader in nutrition. And I really try to help everyone around me about it, because if your nutrition is in line, I think everything else starts to flow.
I love it. I mean, so much of the ethos of the standard is, I mean, why I started it was less about hearing people just spill content. Like, don't get me wrong, there's so much content on the planet. It is
So much.
mind-boggling. Like, we don't need more content, although once again, it will continue to be created. What I was interested in is like, well, what do you do? I mean, clearly you're an expert at this, or
Hmm.
everybody has their own expertise. And that's what I find so interesting
Hmm.
is not what you say, but what you do. And you, as a holistic nutritionist, you live this life, you coach people. What are you doing to take care of yourself? And so I think that, and you said
Yeah.
role model, and I love the concept of role modeling the way, whether it's for your kids or your spouse or your community, is like, I think that's really what carries weight is people, yeah, they'll hear what you say, but they want to know like, well, what exactly are you doing? And I think that's really where you start to build a lot of credibility is like, hey, I've drinking this juice 4,000 times in a row. Look at my skin, look
It's
at my
like,
energy, look at my happiness. And like, you draw the conclusions that you want to draw from that. But part of it is the fact that I am very thoughtful of what I put into my body. So I think that's great. Yeah.
mhm. It's funny. I've never really thought how many times I've actually drank the green juice. You had to pinpoint it for me. And that's not to say, Chris, that's not to say that I never have, you know, sugar, or I
Yeah.
never have pizza. I'm a New Yorker. I love pizza. I indulge when I want to indulge, and I'm very mindful with it. And this is what I teach my clients too, because I don't believe that diets don't work. Putting yourself on a diet, and that's the first thing that I say to clients when they come to me. I am not, if you're here to lose weight, weight loss will be a byproduct,
Yeah.
but it is not the foundation of my program. The foundation of my program is to find your healthy and keep it, and let's make healthy your habit. And yeah, the weight will come off, but I'm not a weight loss coach. I am going to teach you how to eat really well and really delicious and make it fast and easy, but I'm not counting calories. I'm never going to tell you to cut out your favorite food because that doesn't work. I'm just going to teach you how to become more mindful of what you put in your body. And I guess you asked the question before of how holistically, how is I'm a holistic nutritionist, meaning like I'm just going to try to teach you to become a little bit more intentional with what you put in your body, how to become more mindful of it. And when you do indulge in something that per se is not the best for you, do it and enjoy it with absolute gusto. Just enjoy it. Don't self-sabotage. Enjoy it, and then drink a green juice.
I mean, who doesn't want to follow that? Let's flip over to mindsets, and I've said this in almost every episode. Clearly, like mindsets, you've sort of hit on it in some ways of like know your why, and we can dice up the terminology, but essentially like how you think about stuff, and clarity and knowing your why usually precede the habits that you're trying to develop, right? Like, what exactly are we trying to do here? So, mindsets I think are incredibly powerful in terms of like how you think about stuff. Is there one right now that serves you really well for your success and your mental health? Is there like a mindset that really stands above the rest for you at this moment?
There's a whole bunch. I mean, yeah, I like to think about possibilities as opposed to probabilities.
Hmm.
What is possible as opposed to what is probable. So I like to go into the realm of possibilities instead of what most likely is going to happen, which kind of keeps you smaller and holds you down.
Yep.
Whereas if you think about the possibilities that could happen, so I really do have, or I'm trying to have a very expansive mindset when I'm thinking about anything, whether that's cleaning the kitchen, whether that's making a green juice, or whether that's me producing a segment on TV. So it's about what are the possibilities that are in this moment right now.
I love that.
If that makes any
Possibilities, not
sense.
probabilities. How does nutrition play into that? Like, we always hear this quote. I don't know how true it is. I mean, I know some of it, but they always say like you are what you eat. And, I take that to a slightly different level of like what you put in your body has a very profound effect on not just the way you look, but the way you think, the way you feel. And so
Oh,
I have
I,
to
I
imagine like your ability to understand a lot about what you put in has these effects plays into that possibilities versus probabilities, because a lot of people that can't
exactly.
flip the mindset from this like scarcity, fixed mindset, hey, life is happening to me rather than for me. And not that that's all nutrition based, because there's a lot of things that feed into that, but I'm curious for you, like how much does
hmm
what you put into your
Well,
body give you the ability to think about that?
yeah, no, but just going back to what you said, I mean, it's work for me too. I mean, every single day, like healthy is my daily intention.
Yeah.
It's not like I just wake up and I'm like, well, actually now because you have to do the work. We have to put the work in. And because I do the work, I can wake up and just be like, okay, here I am. But I've done the work in that aspect of my life, and I'm continuing to do the work in other aspects of my life right now. So, you know, whether that's trying to eat more intentionally, eat more mindfully, eat healthier, if that's what it is, you have to put the work in, right? It just doesn't magically happen. And that's really hard in our very fast-paced hustle society. This kind of stuff takes work, and it takes effort, and it takes time, but you have to have the mindset that you want to do that. These things don't just happen. Habits take time to form, but before the habit is the intention, and before the intention is the work. So whether again that's eating and making exercise, a daily thing, whether that's connecting to yourself, like meditation, whether that's finding a purpose, whatever that thing is, it's like you have to do the work. And that can be scary for a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't. And that's when the other mindset that we just talked about possibilities over a probability. If you think about the possibilities, then it's really exciting and, really optimistic. But if you think about a probability, you're going to try to set yourself up for failure. Yeah, I'll drink this green smoothie for 3 days, but then I want, a brownie, right? Then I'm just going to default to my brownie. So it's keeping all of these things top of mind and really close to your heart.
Yeah. There's a book, and I think we reference it every single time this podcast happened. Everybody's like, "Oh, I always read Atomic Habits by James Clear." It's one of the most profound books out there. And, I think for a lot of people that struggle with this idea of a healthy lifestyle, let's be honest, everybody wants it. Everybody wants to feel good. Everybody wants joy. Everybody wants to feel connected. But to your point, it's very daunting when you think about the road that you have to go down to like make all this a reality, especially if you're not there already, right? If you haven't built the habits and stacked them on top of each other, you're like, man, you just mentioned like 5 domains of my life I've got to start paying attention to. And there's like 30 subpoints.
And it's overwhelming.
It's completely overwhelming. He's got a really good quote that I love, and you can apply it in so many different ways, but he's like, set the bar so low that you trip over it. And it's really the concept of, and I think you've got to like marry some of these concepts together of like, pick one thing, don't pick 2, pick 1. If you later in your life, you might be better and you can like do 2 to 3 things at once. But dude, I'm built on habits and I still find it overwhelming to try to tackle 2 to 3 different things at once. So it's like, pick one, and whatever that one thing is for you, if it's nutrition or if it's exercise or if it's sleep, pick one element within there that you can accomplish and keep lowering the bar to the point where you're like, well, that's just silly. Why should I start there? And start there, because it's really just getting the momentum. And I think if you can embrace that sort of concept, it's true even when you become an expert at building habits, is you still have to be able to take large goals and chunk them all the way down to something that feels incredibly manageable. And it's the same thing true when you say like possibilities over probability. Some people are overwhelmed by the concept of designing their life, just completely overwhelmed of like, I get to choose where I get to live and what job that I have and who I want to marry. And that can just be overwhelming. And it's like, look, if that's overwhelming, pick one thing and chunk it down to the point where it doesn't feel overwhelming and start there.
That's exactly how I start with my clients, just to like pick one thing and do that until it just becomes part of who you are. And then when you're ready, you can add another thing. Just pick one thing. And I usually start with eat more greens. Just kind of inflect a little bit more greens into your day. So if you're talking from the nutrition aspect of it, that would be my big recommendation. There you go. Eat more greens. Eat more greens. Whether that's in a salad or in a smoothie or put in chili or put on top of a pizza or a big salad with a steak, whatever it is, just eat more greens. That's my big thing. One little thing. That's it.
I'm curious for you, where does, whether it's with yourself or with people that you coach, where does the concept of accountability come in? And if it does come in, is accountability a person, a habit tracker, a calendar with X's on it? Like where does accountability come in when you're helping people to form habits?
Well, I think that's very different for everybody because everybody works differently, obviously. But one of the big things that I hear from the feedback with my clients is the space. I create a safe space. We can talk about accountability. I can give them recommendations. They can report back to me what's worked, what doesn't work. And they have to be truthfully honest. If they didn't do what I suggested, well, we can try again. There's always tomorrow. We can always do it. We can always get to that goal as long as you're willing to, right? So if if you're that person that's a habit tracker, with those pretty little dots and whatnot, or you need to be on the phone with someone, or sometimes I have a special texting with my clients, like a texting platform, and they check off that they've eaten their greens and they've had their green smoothie and they've went for their walk and they've did all the things that I'm, teaching them how to do. That helps them too. So I think everybody is very different, but I do think accountability is really important. Maybe getting a buddy to do it with. I
Yeah.
think that's great. I mean, I know, with exercise, having a running buddy is like, you're out there. You're definitely going to put your shoes on. You're not going to sleep in. You're not going to miss it because someone's waiting in the forest for you, right? So making it fun, making it enjoyable, maybe doing challenges, how many salads can you eat in a day? Or I do a green smoothie challenge or some kind of green smoothie. Like, it just make it fun. Try to bring the joy back into the things that are hard for you, right? Like, find the joy, make it fun, laugh about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just did a post the other day. I was making my green smoothie and like I didn't put the lid on everywhere and it exploded everywhere. I've made this thing a million times, but I messed up. And I was like, oh my God, it's everywhere. Right. So like, try to find the fun in it,
Yeah.
because we all take it. We all are so serious, and we're in such a rush to get to that place. Right. And then you get to that place and you're like, wait, I missed so much. I missed so much because I was in such a rush and this isn't even so great. What's my next?
Yeah.
So like, what's the rush? Like, just become a little bit more mindful with and a little bit more compassionate with yourself.
Yeah.
And I think when we take that pressure off ourselves, we're so hard on each other, especially so hard on ourselves. And you take the pressure off just a little bit, it lightens everything up a little, right?
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Is there anybody that you can think of, friends, family, just people you know of, famous people, where you would want to see their habits? Like, you would want to know the things that they're doing to take care of themselves, be it mindsets or actual habits?
I saw this question on one of the podcasts, and you do, and I don't have one answer per se. Like, I really don't have one person per se, because I admire so many people. I admire so many people, and I'm just an overly curious person for lots of different lifestyles. So I don't have one person, but I would love to peek into like Oprah's fridge and see what, she has and what she's, because she can have, everybody doing all these amazing things for her. So I would love to see what her routine is. I don't love those Instagram posts where it's like what that famous person ate in a day,
Yeah.
because I think that just makes people feel bad about what they eat in a day or what they do in a day or what they don't do in a day. But I would love to see someone who is so abundant and so limitless, like Oprah. I
Yeah.
would love to see, how she lives her most abundant life and where she is on that, because I bet you, and it could be really interesting to see. Everything is already prepped for her. I would love to see what makes her feel her best.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, last question I got for you, and this is sort of taking a much more macro perspective at all this, but knowing everything you know about wellness, and then coupling that with like all the challenges that we face in this world, not just individually, but just collectively, is there,
Mhm.
if you could wave a wand and sort of distill down a habit or a mindset to all of humanity in just one wave of a wand that you think would sort of nudge us in a more loving and kind direction, what would that
Uh,
habit or mindset be that you think would add more good to the world?
my kids laugh at me all the time because I talk to people. I ask people how they are. And some people don't talk back, and some people are a waterfall. And my kids think I'm really weird. They get embarrassed by it. But like, just be nice to people. Like, thank the person who's putting your groceries in your car. Or ask the woman who's, you know, doing your like who's at the cash register how she's doing, or make her laugh, or tell her about yourself. When someone asks you how you are, tell them. Be honest, be open, be honest, and try to have a conversation with people. Connection is key, and I think we're living in a world where we're so connected yet we're so disconnected. Like, make connections with people, compliment people.
Yeah.
I like your sweater, it's not so hard. But I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. We walk around this world heads down on our device, completely tuned out to what's going on right in front of us. And it makes it really sterile. We're living in a very sterile world. Where is the open conversation? Where is going to the dog park and having a conversation?
Yeah.
You never know where you can make someone's day. We never know what's going on behind that person. So if you can just brighten someone's day, make someone laugh, make someone smile, I just think that would change our complete existence of how we are experiencing humanity right now.
Yeah, well
It's
said.
really missing.
I do a fair amount of posts on kindness just because I think people don't always recognize how one tiny act of kindness, which can be anything, it could be a lot of the things that you mentioned. It could be a
Anything.
hug or
Hmm.
holding the door open for somebody, or maybe even it's just a smile, or to your point, even just saying like, how are you doing? Like those have such profound ripple effects. And there's been scientific studies that suggest that like by one act of kindness, you can impact up to 125 different people. And I'm like, oh my
Right? I
God,
believe
like,
that.
what if a bunch of us were kind to each other? I was like, we could like change everything by just being nice. Like, holy moly.
Yeah. Chris, you want to know what's really cool about this though? Is that yeah, I have three teenage girls. They roll their eyes at me. They don't want like you know it. I see them doing it now. And like
Oh,
I don't say
yay.
anything. I'm really quiet, but like what used to embarrass them or still embarrasses them, I now see my daughters doing things like that. And oh my God, it just raises their vibration. It raises the
Oh,
other
that's
person's
awesome.
vibration. And it just makes me so happy to see that, like, you can be an outlier. You can talk to other people and it's okay. Like, it's okay. It's going to bring you joy.
Oh,
It brings them joy now. And it's just really, that has been something very cool that's happened most recently in the past, year and a half or so, when I see my kids doing something that they used to be so mortified, like embarrassed used to do. It's cool.
that's like a proud mom moment where you're like, oh my
Yeah,
God, it's actually,
it's
it's sinking in.
yeah,
It's
it's
transferring.
sinking in. And you know what? So does the nutrition.
Yeah.
And then I say lead by example. That sinks in. Like, they're kids, they have, birthday parties and all that kind of stuff. And they take inventory at dinner time, like, okay, I had this, this, and this today. I definitely need a big salad and some protein
Yeah.
today, Mom. I'm like, okay. So it sinks in.
Nah, well, that's a great place to end. I would say, if anything, like, be a role model. I suggest like you don't have to be
Yeah.
a role model for all of humanity, but I mean, just start with, your house, right? Like your kids and your friends, they say show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Be one of those positive people out
Yeah.
there that just tries to put more good out there, even if the good is just taking care of yourself. That has a profound effect when people start to see you and like experience you. And so, you don't have to change the world. Just start with yourself. And if enough people did that, we definitely be in a more positive spot. Where can people go to learn about you? I know you mentioned your website, but where is the best place for people to go and experience you?
Nourished by Alyssa
Okay.
on Instagram. And I do, I have lots of recipes on there. I have daily tips on there. I do wellness hacks on there. That's where you can find like the most up to date things that I'm doing. And also, you can always go to nourish.ca. There, you'll find a ton of free recipes and my wellness philosophy in general. And then, if you wanted to work with me, you can work with me one on one. I also have group programs, and I also have a digital nutrition experience that you can do at any time at your own time. And it's like a 6-week intensive, what to do to feel your healthiest.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I love following you on Instagram. It's like we've said a couple times in this. It's not just getting some nutrition type advice or anything, but I mean you're learning a little bit of all of it, the habits, the mindsets, and you've got some great stuff out there. So I think that's a great place for
It's a
people
little
to
bit of
start.
everything. A little
Yeah.
bit of everything, yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Alyssa, you've been amazing. You are amazing. I appreciate all your support.
Oh,
And thanks for joining me. I feel like there's easily a sequel to this coming at one point. There's so many other questions I wanted
oh
to ask,
yeah.
but for the sake of time,
We can break it down.
I'm
Well,
like,
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Again, as I said, I'm honored and I'm very grateful to be with you and talk about things that are most important to us.
without a doubt. Awesome. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Standard. Before we go, click on the link in the show notes of this episode to learn more about today's guest. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with somebody who you think would benefit from it as well.